do I need to raise my hand or can I just jump in with a question?
Go ahead with your question.
Okay, thank you. I'm enjoying the discussion. I think it's really, really useful, really meaningful. And I think a lot of people are going through some sort of transition in their career, especially with the COVID situation. On the volunteering discussion, I think that was really interesting because if you're kind of conditioned to have your CV with, with the work experience section just being like corporate or paid jobs, and you were talking about volunteer positions. So if you get like a senior volunteer position and it's part-time or full-time, is it okay to put that on the work experience section and not the volunteer section?
Oh, yeah. In fact, sometimes I don't even suggest having a volunteer section. Just lump it all up there under the experience. Because if you have professional experiences, it doesn't have to be paid.
Right.
Okay.
And that's what, and use, like, if your volunteer experience is really, I mean, you can use a volunteer experience to transfer jobs, to better your skills. There's a lot of reasons that you do it. And that actually, remember on your resume, the closer to the top, the better the real estate. So you want to put, if that's really where, like my computer lady, if that's really the skills you want to highlight, then put it as a job. And, they can, and it's as a reference. Those are volunteer opportunities are also great references, because when I'm calling a reference, and actually this is funny, I don't ever recall saying, what were you paid? I just want to know, I want a bigger picture on this person. So, I would just put it up there, unless it's something maybe that is, if it's something that's really critical to the job, that the skill, put it where it needs to be and give it the best real estate you can. If it's just a nice to have, like, then maybe put it at the bottom.
And let me jump in a little bit about, Kathy brings up a good point, is this real estate situation. So above the fold is the main real estate. When recruiters are going through these resumes, think about, they might have hundreds of pages of resumes to go through. They're going through 3 seconds looking. And if something doesn't jump out at them, they're going to go right by it. So you want to have all your heavy hitters at the top. And a couple of things, we haven't really gone into this in detail, but you probably have heard, nowadays, due to identity theft and things, we don't suggest putting your address on there. Just put, Washington metropolitan area is fine. Your LinkedIn, your email, cell phone number, and then jump right into the skills, because we want those skills section, your profile, to be right up there front and center. A lot of people tend to put, like, everything but the kitchen sink in that section. I would say, please put just the things that are truly, truly relevant to the job that you're seeking. So if you're seeking something and you have a skill, which is great, but it has nothing to do with it, it's tough, because the recruiters have so little time that it gets them confused on what the objective of this person is. And sometimes the objective, if people include that, it kind of eliminates, like, if you don't happen to cover what they're offering, then you've just eliminated yourself from the pool, because the first thing they're going to see is this objective that doesn't match. So I don't even suggest putting an objective, but some people do. So that's up to you. But everything in your resume, just like the LinkedIn profile, should point to a certain direction, because the recruiter gets confused if they have to make a judgment call on, is this person trying to be an HR rep or a project manager? Like, which way are they going here? Now, not that you want to discount your skills. I mean, everyone's kind of interested in that, especially the older you get, the more skills you have. And then, you're proud of your skills and you want the skills on there, but you might think to yourself that, oh, maybe if I put this on there and this job isn't quite right, they'll see me for this over here. Why not?
They don't work that way.
That's a natural inclination, but not the right way to go.
Right. To answer that, and just, I kind of want to explain. So again, Westat was very big. 10 till 2 was very small. But and actually I was more likely to read a resume at Westat than I was at 10 till 2. But at 10 till 2, when you send in your resume, it goes into this database. And if I'm looking to pull from that database, it's going to pull up keywords. So if it is a job that's getting a lot of resumes, they may be just going through a keyword screening. So nobody may actually even look at your resume. So that's why it's really important, whether you're a veteran or you did it 10 years ago and now you're going back in, make sure you have included, and this is the same with federal resumes, except you can put a whole lot more real estate in there. Make sure it includes your keywords. And on the bottom, on that job description where it says minimum qualifications, you better make sure that somewhere in that resume, it clearly says you meet those minimum qualifications. Because what the minimum qualifications is, it's a cutting block, so to speak. So however, if they're asking for 7 years and you put 5 years, you make a cut, because those minimum qualifications is that baseline that is then going to go to the junior recruiter to screen. So understand keywords, understand baseline, get those words in there. Mm-hmm. One of the things when I had 10 till 2, I come from a workforce development background. So I think of going into a job or interview differently than another recruiter. So I was looking for staffing because that's what the manager called it. And I wasn't actually looking for staffing, but it was something else. And so I Googled staffing and like 2 resumes popped up. And I'm like, well, this can't be all the people doing staffing. And I'm thinking, well, what other words could be used for staffing, recruiting? And then I did some other things and voila, I had tons of resumes. So if you don't know what you're looking for, and again, assuming a junior recruiter is like doing the baseline of this, you may not get pulled out. So do the work for them, understand and do the work for them. Now, when I was at I was at EDS too, Westat. I was also a recruiter, HR generalist. So I worked with 2 other gentlemen who we worked on some big projects together. And there was one in particular that I was brought in to recruit for, and I had to hire like 52 people, which is an insane amount of people. Fortunately, I knew where to go. I knew how to do it. And I got a lot of really qualified candidates pretty quickly. So we had at EDS, because they got tagged with unfair hiring. So Westat, I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm saying EDS tonight. Westat follows fair hiring process. So when I get my pile of resumes, I can only go in 1 through 10 and make those calls and then move those people to a interview. So I can only take those first 10 or whatever that number is that I select. It could be 1 through 15. It could be 1 through 5. But I can only work with those individuals in that particular chunk. So if I found the candidate that met my job description and was qualified, guess what? I had to hire them. If I eliminated that person, or I said, well, I want to get in and see maybe there's somebody better qualified. Once I did that, then I had to go to whatever that next level was. Does this make sense? So if I was just using something simple, I put in one of the things I asked is you were available to work 8 to 6. And I would get literally resumes that said I could work 9 to 5. And that said, available to work 8 to 6 in an 8-hour shift. And I would get, well, I'm available 9 to 5. Guess what? They would get cut because they didn't answer my question or they didn't put in 8 hours. So, but if I said, okay, well, I know in the next wave, there's somebody I really want him, and he is only available 8:30 to 5. But I'd cut all these other people because they didn't put that in there. Then I either had to change and open it up and go back to everybody else or move on. And there were other people that I hired. I don't know if this makes sense. anyway, whatever my minimum standards were, if I was looking for computer skills and I would look on their resume that somewhere in there they had computer skills that I needed, and it could be in their application, it could be on their resume. Then I would call them for a phone interview. If they did not list the computer skills that were my minimum qualification, guess what? I couldn't call them. Even if I knew they had them, even if I could put it together that they had them, I could not call that individual. Oh, and also make sure that you put, because I was doing a call on one of my coworkers' son had put in his resume for this project, the summer project. And I went to call him, and guess what? He gave me the wrong phone number. So I went out, I said, hey, Mom, his phone's not working. And she looks at it and she goes, he gave you the wrong number. And I said, you know better than this. She goes, this was still on his dad's watch. Anyway, if I can't walk out and say, Mom, what's the phone number? You're not going to get a call back. So make sure that your phone numbers are correct on the applications. Make sure you're answering their questions. Make sure you're giving them that information you need to get to that first or second interview.